So this question has a line tangent to the graph of y equals e to the x at a point k e to the k. We want to know the positive value of k for which the y-intercept of that line is equal to 1/2. So I think part of the difficulty of this question is that it's worded in a confusing way, and in addition, it's not an easy question. So I would say do not choose answer E unless you can think of a reason why. Usually I get people choosing answers like E. There's no such value of K because they don't know how to find K. That's not a valid reason to have no value of K, just because you don't know how to find it. So make sure that you know why there is no K if there was none. Okay, so for this problem, it's really helpful if you're able to draw a picture of it and visualize. So the graph of y equals e to the x, you may or may not remember it, but if you have, I'm going to draw a little bit right here. So you can always draw like an xy table just to know what's going on. If you have x equals 0, you have a y value at 1. If you have x equals 1, you have a y value at e, which is about 2.7-ish. If you get a negative number, you're going to have a fraction that's less than 1. So this graph kind of looks like that. So I personally think it's helpful to look at it and kind of have an idea of where your value might be. We want to know where are we going to have a tangent line that has a y-intercept of 1/2. So we're going to have a y-intercept there. If you look at the graph, to be tangent to that, you're going to be, looks like it's going to be somewhere between maybe like 0.5 and 1.5. And you can see based on the choices that it is going to occur at one of those points. So actually, if you're able to draw a picture like this, you can automatically eliminate choice E, because we can see that we probably can find a tangent line that actually intersects the graph and has a y-intercept at 1/2. So now let's find the equation of this line. So our equation is going to be in y equals mx plus b form. We know something really helpful, and that's that we know the value of b for that line. It is going to be 1/2. The other thing that we know is that the point k, e to the k, is on that line. So we can actually plug that in for x and y. And we get that. Actually, even if they didn't give you this point right here, if they just gave you like x equals k, you would be able to figure out the y value of that by just substituting it into this equation. So it would be e to the k. But they do give you that part of the point. I'm not sure if it makes it easier or more complicated. For some people, it might make it easier. For some people, it might make it more confusing. So the last thing that we know about this equation is that we can actually figure out the slope by using calculus. And the slope of a tangent line, we know, is going to be the derivative. In addition, it is going to be the derivative evaluated at x equals k. So we're going to figure out the derivative of y equals e to the x and then evaluate it at k. Now, y equals e to the x is like the best function ever because its derivative is also e to the x. So if we find y equals e to the, if we find the derivative, we evaluate it at k, it's just going to be e to the k. So just to recap, this was my y value, this was my x value, this is my my intercept, this is my slope. So it's y equals mx plus b. So now we need to find k. That's actually what we're trying to find. They ask you, what is the positive value of k? So you might have multiple values of k. If that happens, that's fine. if you were to draw this tangent line in a different way, you might find that you can get a tangent line that looks like that. That would have a negative value of k, but we're only looking for the positive one. So we can find this value of k by solving this equation. It's a really, really, really hard one to solve by hand. So we're going to solve it using a graphing calculator. And the way that we can solve it using the graphing calculator, there's a few ways. I'll tell you my favorite way. Now, if you have another way that you have learned to solve something on your calculator, you certainly are welcome to do it. There is a solving feature on every calculator. I personally think that just graphing something is a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and graph it. And for my graph, there's two ways that you can graph it. There's actually three ways that you can graph it. One way that you can graph it is you can move everything on this equation over to one side, have it equal to 0, and then find the x-intercept. That's fine. You can do that if you would prefer that. I'll show you the other way. So the second way that you can do this is you can put whatever's on the left side, in this case it's e to the k, you can put that into y1. Your calculator doesn't have a k button, so actually we're going to write it as x. The second thing that you can put into y2 is the stuff that's on the right-hand side. Again, we're going to replace our k's with x's. Once you do that, you're going to be, I would like you to graph those. Please do that on your own, actually. So I apologize for the poor picture quality, but hopefully you can see it. And hopefully your calculator gave you something similar. So I ended up getting an intersection point at 0.768 and 2.155. If you weren't sure if you're using the x or the y, keep in mind that we are solving for k. I replaced the k with x, so we're actually looking for our x value right here. So my answer for this is B.